Hello, you're welcome to Ogtv News. I am Mojesola Shulaja. On the news, President Buhari inaugurates steering committee to midwife 2021-2025 National Development Plan. Federal government set to replace striking resident doctors with corps members. Banking sector records over 263 trillion naira electronic transactions in second quarter of 2020. British Prime Minister defends changes to planned Brexit withdrawal agreement. Smile at the obstacle, for it is a bridge, so says Medusa.
And on sport news tonight, England to review proposed fans return to stadiums on October 1 amid coronavirus spike. This and more sporting stories much later on the news. My name is Moses or Jawumi. Stay with us.
Once again, you're welcome. As the state capital of Abeokuta records another heavy downpour and long hours of rain, Ogtv News went round to monitor the situation of things in some major areas of the city. The downpour could not wreak much havoc as the recent intervention of the Ogun State government through dredging of waterways and river channels prevented major disaster. Matthew Shomi now reports.
According to the Nigerian Meteorological Agency's prediction, heavy downpours resulting in flash floods are expected to cause flooding in some parts of the country. Ogun State has already recorded its own share of the prediction as the heavy downpour of July 4th resulted in flooding in some areas of the state capital, Abeokuta, after which the government moved swiftly to avert future occurrence of such a natural disaster by dredging and opening up river channels and waterways.
You can see the volume of water that we're having in this Salojo-Kuto axis. It's so heavy, it's so massive. Just like we had the torrential rain on July 4th this year. And I can see the effect of the dredging activities that the Minister of Environment has done with the approval of the governor. You can see the water, you can see the storm water, as massive as it is, you can see it is flowing. If not because the Minister of Environment has opened up this place, this water will have probably spread over all these roads and adjoining buildings.
The rainfall, which started in the wee hours of the day, continued till late in the afternoon, but the damage that could have resulted was averted due to the efforts made by government to plan ahead for the heavy downpour. Ogtv News crew caught up with the Commissioner for Environment, Honorable Abiodun Abudu Balogun, who was also going around to monitor the impacts of the rain and observed the results of the efforts of the government.
That's why I'm here now in the rain, to come and have an on-the-spot assessment. I just don't want my director to come and give me a report. I want to see it myself, and that's why I'm out in the rain to have an on-the-spot assessment. As I'm talking to you, I'm not only monitoring Abeokuta. I'm getting reports now from Yakoyo. They said their water is flowing. Don't also forget that we dredge Yakoyo, and for once, Yakoyo people said that this is the first time they can sleep and have their two eyes closed.
Some of the people of the flood-prone areas appreciated the intervention of the state government. Matthew Shomi, Ogtv News.
Members of the Ogun State House of Assembly Committee on Public Accounts and Anti-Corruption, led by Honorable Musefiu Lamidi, considered the audit report of the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, with a charge on the institution's management, led by the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ganiu Olatunde, to correct and reconcile all errors contained in the report. The committee chairman, Honorable Musefiu Lamidi, in his submission, said the institution also needs to address some other infractions pointed out in the audit report, including inaccurate fixed asset register and non-disclosure of account balance, amongst others. He requested for all statements of accounts and reconciliation between 2015 and 2019, as well as provision of all relevant documents in support of all their cost lines.
Kindly make available to this committee the bank statements for 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. You will need your bank reconciliation too, on all other documents that we have talked about here. Because you will go back and see what you can do about them. We will need them as well.
The committee chairman equally urged the institution to update all its accounting records and reports back to the committee by Friday, 11th September 2020. Responding, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ganiu Olatunde, thanked the lawmakers for conducting checks on the institution's account books to promote accountability and transparency, with an assurance that all issues raised in the reports will be addressed, including the provision of necessary documents as requested by the committee. One of the main factors that influences the success or failure of enterprises is technology. Hence, government should make business environment ICT enabling by providing infrastructure which will facilitate expansion. This was the opinion of entrepreneurs who spoke with Ogtv News on the impact of ICT on the growth and development of small businesses in Nigeria. Idowu Fabaju reports.
In Nigeria, SMEs conduct 90% of business in the country but contribute less than 10% to the gross domestic product, according to research. Bringing SMEs up to speed with the digital revolution is not just a matter of improving their quarterly profits, but also about creating growth and jobs, as no business can thrive without better use of technology in the digital age.
There's a lot of things you want to do today that without the use of ICT, you cannot successfully achieve. ICT is the major driver today in this economy. I sincerely believe that if ICT is properly managed, if ICT, the problems that emanate from the use of ICT is properly addressed, I want to believe that a lot of SMEs will go forward. And I need you to also know that SMEs actually is the engine room of economic development in this country.
Taking a look at the impact of ICT on the growth and development of small businesses in Nigeria, respondents say growth in ICT adoption within both large and small businesses had been significant, as SMEs are an integral part of innovation and growth in a dynamic economy.
ICT has greatly increased and improved our level of productivity. We have been able to do more with less. We have been able to plan ahead and schedule our meetings and get more done, of course, with less. With simple tools like our apps on our mobile phones or our laptops or our softwares, they have been able to help us to achieve great productivity. We actually produce great results within a short time.
With the help of the ICT, within a GV, you can put a call through, you can send a WhatsApp message to your producer, and then you send your money through the online means, which is also with the help of the ICT. So all of this has really broken the bottleneck. Also, in a way, it has created more employment for more persons, particularly in the logistic business.
It is evident that innovative technological strategies are a key resource for gaining competitive advantages. But this is challenging because some enterprises lack entrepreneurship and innovative skills.
Use it to enhance your business. Wherever you are selling, wherever you are, the service you render, let people know about it. You're a carpenter, anytime you're engaging in any furniture work, post it on social media, let people know about it. Tell your friends to help you to share it. Before you know it, you'll be working here in Ibadan, you'll be having customers in other states.
ICT will affect in different directions, but it is left to the small scale business enterprise owner to choose a way of overcoming the negative areas and how it will affect his or her business in a negative way.
While SMEs in Nigeria are excited about the changes brought about by the use of technology in business, there are also many challenges, including lack of network infrastructure and slow or unstable wireless access. Therefore, entrepreneurs should be informed about the importance of ICT and how it could be used to increase operational efficiency. Idowu Fabaju, Ogtv News.
It is now obvious that a total shift in both orientation and effort to the concept and practice of entrepreneurship is a solution to unemployment rate in Nigeria. This report, which seeks to highlight the effect of formal education on entrepreneurship in Nigeria. Ido Fabajo has the details.
Today, there are a large number of employable graduates roaming the streets, reasons not unconnected with the fact that the employment opportunities in the public sector, which happens to be the largest employer in the country, is inadequate to the extent that it cannot accommodate the teeming population of the skilled and unskilled workforce. What's then the effect of formal education on the development of entrepreneurship in Nigeria?
It is good for an entrepreneur to be educated, because if such an entrepreneur is being educated, it's going to help him or her a lot. It will enable him or her to promote his or her business through the packaging, through the ways of expression. Everything people will see and they will know this is an educated person.
Formal education equips one and gives one basic skills for entrepreneurship. Secondly, it gives you an edge in relating with customers from all walks of life. You'll be able to strategize. Also, it gives you a wider range of clientele. It gives you a wide range of customers. Thereby, you make more profits.
Generating greater awareness among tertiary institutions on the importance of having proper and practical strategies for acquiring entrepreneurial skills would be a great deal for the country.
I got all my ideas in doing a business or as an entrepreneur through formal education. All the necessary knowledge, I gained them while I was in school as an AED student. Formal education has really done a great job in entrepreneurship in Nigeria and in diaspora.
You are being called for a government work. You should know how to prepare your proposal, how to defend it. Even when you are being called in the presence of the panel or committee, you should be able to defend whatever you are presenting to them. That is why you say an entrepreneur must be educated.
Knowledge will transform you. You can imagine now, personally, as a business person, I've acquired so much knowledge, and then I want to use that to scale my business. It will make me outstanding. I will advise every uneducated entrepreneur, go and get yourself an education. It doesn't have to be that you go through the 4 walls of the university. It might just be that you need to just go to a fashion school if you're a fashion person. It might be that you go to a business school if you are into anything. You get just get something, just do something, get knowledge. And I can tell you that in years to come, if you want to compare yourself with somebody that is uneducated, you will see that you are way ahead of the person.
The changing demand for versatile, multi-skilled workers and entrepreneurs has stimulated interest in entrepreneurial culture of formal education globally, and this has called for the restructuring of curricula and teaching techniques in formal education to promote internship, field work, and learning. Ido Fabajo, Ogtv News.
And still to come, INEC to recruit 17,000 ad hoc staff for Ondo governorship election. More news after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Ogtv News. An high-powered National Steering Committee for the preparation of the medium-term national development 2021 to 2025, as well as Agenda 2050, has been inaugurated. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, described the task as vital to the transformation of the nation's economic fortunes beyond Vision 2020 and the economic recovery growth agenda.
In our development planning, it has become necessary to develop successor plans to the Nigerian Vision 2020 and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, which both lapsed in December this year. The main objectives of these successor plans are to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within the next 10 years, particularly given the World Bank's projection that Nigeria will become the world's third most populous country by 2050, with over 400 million people. At the heart of the successor plans is a partnership between the public and private sectors, with government as an enabler of private sector investment and industry. The successor plans must, therefore, be designed to sustain national development as well as support our regional and global strategic interests as outlined in the African Union Agenda 2063, the ECOWAS Integration Agenda 2050, and the Sustainable Development Goals 2030.
The committee is to be co-chaired by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning and Mr. Achado Peterside, representing the private sector. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to the protection of schools and learning centers across the country from violence and all forms of attacks. Minister of Education Adamu, in a statement on Wednesday commemorating the first International Day for the Protection of Education from Attack, stated that the protection of learners, teaching and non-teaching personnel, schools and learning centers from all forms of attack was an obligation of government and all relevant stakeholders, while acknowledging that schools and other learning facilities in different locations in the country had over the years been subject of attacks by parties in conflict and communal clashes, especially Boko Haram, bandits, thugs and unknown individuals and groups. The minister admonished that there is need for all stakeholders to appreciate and observe the sanctity of learning centers. He called for the immediate release of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls, Leah Sharibu, and other learners and teachers still in captivity, while describing their abduction from the places of learning as an infringement on their rights to quality education. Adamu said Nigeria is committed to observing all existing international protocols on education and freedom of learning, as well as child rights to quality education in a protective environment. The United Nations has called on Nigerian states to fast-track the domestication of the policies on safe schools in line with the Safe School Declaration, which Nigeria endorsed. President Muhammadu Buhari ratified the Safe Schools Declaration during the weekly FED meeting. Dr. Judith Giwa Amu, Education Officer at UNICEF, said President Buhari had already given approval for its domestication in states. Giwa Amu is also the Nigerian coordinator, Education in Emergencies Working Group, said that the policy would ensure the protection of schools even during the crisis. The declaration provides countries the opportunity to express political support for the protection of students, teachers, and schools during times of armed conflict. The coordinator of the UN Working Group commended Nigeria for being one of the first countries to have endorsed the declaration and shown a commitment to ensuring it's kept to its dictates. Nigeria was one of the first 37 countries that endorsed the declaration out of 104 countries that are currently signatories. The federal government has directed the chief medical directors and managing directors of federal tertiary hospitals to immediately commence the use of consultants and doctors and the National Youth Service Corps to provide routine services. The government also directed that local staff should be brought in when and where necessary to forestall services disruption when applicable and affordable. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, gave the directive in a statement issued in Abuja on Wednesday. He was reacting to the nationwide strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors over the non-payment of the COVID-19 hazard allowance and other demands. He said it is with deep concern that the government viewed the ongoing strike by the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, which commenced on September 7, 2020. Dr. Hanire reminded all that the primary duty of doctors and all health workers is to save lives, but embarking on a strike in this time that the country is battling with the COVID-19 pandemic is ill-timed and ill-advised. The minister noted that it is a critical time in which all well-meaning medical professionals should close ranks and confront the common enemy, which is the COVID-19 pandemic threatening mankind. The Minister of State for Health, Dr. Olorunniyi Mamora, said the federal government has paid up to 20 billion naira in COVID-19 inducement allowance to doctors and health workers in the country. The minister, who applauded all frontline health workers in the country amid the fight against COVID-19 pandemic, made this known on Wednesday. About 16,000 doctors have downed tools over the government's inability to meet their demands, including insurance package, payment of the outstanding COVID-19 inducement allowances, as well as the payment of medical residency training funding, among others. The doctors had also called for the upward review of the hazard allowance from the sum of 5,000 naira, which they described as paltry. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors said the federal government did not invite them for a meeting after it was notified that there will be proceedings on the strike. But speaking on Wednesday, Mamora said it is regrettable that the kind situation is happening at this point in time when the nation is grappling with a pandemic. The Nigerian Communications Satellite NICOMSAT is collaborating with National Health Insurance Scheme (NHIS) to re-engineer and completely overhaul its health insurance business processes, just as NICOMSAT has been identified as a strategic contributor in building a digital Nigeria. This is according to a document released by the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. NICOMSAT will contribute to 3 pillars already earmarked in the policy, and this includes the provision of service infrastructure that will enable the government to provide digital services through robust satellite links in order to drive the digital economy in the rural and underserved areas. NICOMSAT, according to the document, National Digital Economic Policy and Strategy 2020 to 2030, will provide the backbone to support efforts that will accelerate the penetration of affordable and quality broadband internet in the rural communities. NICOMSAT, under the Nigerian National Broadband Plan 2020 to 2025, is already saddled with the mandate of providing satellite internet broadband services through the installation of 3,000 VSAT remotes in rural areas in order to bridge the gap between urban and rural communities, and also to provide solid infrastructure towards the digital economy implementation process. Stress remains a universal human experience and a negative force in a person's life that triggers a host of unwanted effects. It can cause many serious health problems, including mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and personality disorders. In this special report, Moyoluwa Ajayi examines the impact of stress on human health and the need for adequate rest. Her report is presented from our studios.
The human body, composed of many different types of cells that together create tissues and subsequently organ systems. The human body is well equipped to handle stress in small doses, but when that stress becomes long-term or chronic, it can have serious effects on the body.
Stress is the body or brain reaction or response to change in demand activities, and which in turn actually build up to either body or mental tension. Now, basically, it takes an holistic approach to understand stress, which can actually generate from the mind, from the body, and from the environment.
These stressors can be internal or external. External, that is happening within an individual's body. For example, an infection can pose stress on an individual, while external has to do with something happening outside an individual's body.
Depending on a person's thinking patterns and coping skills, almost anything can cause stress.
Stress is a universal phenomenon. Everyone experiences stress, and it's a condition whereby an individual experiences changes the normal balance state of the body. Stress can result in anger, depression, nervousness, forgetfulness, muscle tension, lack of concentration, loss of appetite, overeating, and social withdrawal.
What you find with these people is that they become withdrawn, they become disinterested in events, they become sad, they have difficulty sleeping, they are not productive at work, they are not able to do what they are meant to do, they have nightmares, they have like flashbacks, like into the memories of those things that happened that they didn't that were not good.
Once a source triggers, various symptoms emerge unless the person uses effective coping skills to manage problems.
For those individuals suffering from that, you want to talk to them, you want to be around friends, kind acts of gestures, having time to talk to them, having time to make them pour out their mind if they want to, being there for them, giving them what they need. And it takes a gradual process, but someone that wants to help them has to be patient with them for them to ease out of those stressful period. So it is quite important for one to be more observant about those around us.
The first thing is that you know your body signals. When you know this, then you will not go into stress. Another thing is that proper time management. Manage your time well so that you not go into stress. Also, you eat well, you rest well, and you sleep well. Take time to do exercise. Take time to relax. And then finally, always put on a smiling face.
Stress is not a distinct medical diagnosis, and there is no single and specific treatment for it, but by implementing relaxation techniques, therapy, and treating conditions and symptoms.
Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Muhammad, will on Thursday swear in 85 judges to serve on the Election Petition Tribunal panel set up for the upcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states, as well as other legislative elections in different parts of the country. The media officer of the Court of Appeals, Adatu Kachala, said that the inauguration will take place at the ceremonial hall of the Supreme Court in Abuja on Thursday. The Court of Appeal is the Secretariat of Election Petition Affairs in the country, and its president, Justice Monica Dongwa Mensam, is statutorily responsible for the selection of judges to serve on the panels of the election petition tribunals. The Edo State governorship election will hold on September 19, while that of Ondo State will hold on October 10, 2020. Aggrieved candidates in the elections will have 21 days from the day of announcing the results of the elections to file the petitions at the election tribunal. A total of 17,000 ad hoc staff will be recruited by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the October 10 governorship election in Ondo State. Of the figures, 15,000 will be members of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSA, while the remaining 2,000 will be staff of federal tertiary institutions to be engaged as supervising presiding officers, collation and returning officers. INEC insisted that voting at the Ondo and Edo elections will commence by 8:30 in the morning and close by 2:30 in the afternoon. The electoral umpire cautioned journalists against announcing election results, noting that such powers reside with the returning officers. The Commission said that basic personal protective equipment, including face masks, sanitizers, infrared thermometers, and disinfectants, will be made available at polling units for its staff. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, has finally complied with the repeated orders of the Federal High Court in Abuja, compelling him to produce a governorship candidate in the last November 16, 2019 election in Bayelsa State, Vijo Kwama. Two previous orders issued by Justice Taiwo on August 3, 2020, and subsequently on September 2 for the production of the detainee in court were ignored by the IGP. The judge had on Monday issued the third order directing the IGP to produce him in court on Wednesday. He had threatened to summon the IGP to personally appear in court should he fail to obey the third order. The detainee, who was arrested by policemen from the IGP's monitoring unit on August 15, 2020, was finally produced in court on Wednesday. He He was produced from Suleja prison, where an upper area court in Zuba, Abuja, ordered him to be remanded after police filed charges of resistance of arrest against him at the court on September 4. The effectiveness of community policing in the society cannot be overemphasized, as it brings police and citizens together to prevent crime and solve neighborhood problems through security of lives and property. It is also one of the most effective tools for reducing the fear of crimes in the society. In this special report, Ifeoluwa Sholade takes a look at the prospects and challenges of community policing and prevention of crimes in the country. His report.
With imminent and increasing crime rates such as robbery, cultism, raping, kidnapping, and other criminal acts, community policing has played a crucial role in crime prevention in the society. The effectiveness of community policing is aimed at boosting security as well as aiding information and intelligence gathering. This collaborative effort in recent times has been deployed in Nigeria's security system to ease the workload on security personnel in the course of discharging their internal and external duties.
The alienation between the people and the police has gone for so long, and we're trying to, reverse the order so that the people can take responsibility for the security in their own area. They will be able to contribute information and intelligence to the community police. The constabularies are going to be recruited from the community, and they are going to serve in their community, and so they stand a very good chance of knowing how to go about resolving communal conflicts and be able to, be proactive.
Commenting on this, Commissioner of Police, Ogun State Command, Edward Ajogun, says the security policy was adopted due to the increasing and alarming rate of violence and crimes.
To the law-abiding citizens of the state, I want to once again assure them that the command is ready more than ever to guarantee their safety at all times. The cooperation of all the good citizens of Ogun State is therefore particularly required in the area of useful information to deal with this criminal.
Several warnings have also been doled out to residents to desist from jungle justice, as such acts will defeat the objective of community policing.
There are times where, whether we like it or not, mistakes will arise. And when such mistakes arise, I want to plead that please hear from us too, to know why such mistakes are made, because we all have one common purpose, and that is to ensure that there's peace, tranquility, and maximum security provided in this state.
Rather than running after criminals after the deed that must have been done, they'll be able to nip it in the bud. And generally, the people will be involved. Because the people will be involved, they will be the trust and the cohesion between the people and the police will be further enhanced.
Nigerians are therefore advised to be security conscious and report any suspicious movements or actions to the concerned authorities. Ife Sholuade, Ogtv News.
Transparency and accountability remain key in running the affairs of the opposition. Made known when the United Nations resident and the humanitarian coordinator visited the de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration camp, Malamsedi, Gombe State. The essence of the visit is to synergize with the de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration program to make an impact on the ex-combatants through policy improvement, since they are into various skills acquisition, so as to give them access to a better market. The United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator, Edward Callon, also commended the activities of the Operation Safe Corridor in peace building and investing hopes that will bring harmony, especially in the Northeast region.
According to the General, about 17 ministries, departments, and agencies are involved in this. So, I mean, listen, these guys have brought on board the global best practices in dealing with this. Whatever is going to be new is going to be very small. It will only be focused on quality improvement, and that's it.
According to the coordinator, Operation Safe Corridor, Major General Bamidele Shafa, the program has recorded successes which added values to humanity towards ensuring that the ex-combatants become productive members of the society. He explained that the success made has drawn other countries to adopt the model.
So we believe that is our contribution to civil society in order to continue to derive their support and cooperation.
The UN team was conducted round the camp to see the impact made so far. On the business news segment, Nigeria's debt profile increased by 2.38 trillion naira. Stay tuned for more business news after the break. Welcome to the business segment of the news. Nigeria's debt profile increased by 2.38 trillion naira between March and June 2020. The Debt Management Office has revealed. It said Nigeria's total public debt stock as of June 30, 2020 stood at 31 trillion naira. Nigeria's total debt stock includes the debt stock of the federal government, the 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory. The corresponding figures for March 31, 2020 were 28.628 trillion naira. The debt office explained that the increase in the debt stock by 2.38 trillion naira was accounted for by the $3.36 billion budget support loan from the IMF, new domestic borrowing to finance the revised 2020 Appropriation Act. The National Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday said the banking sector recorded a total volume of over 2 billion, amounting to over 263 trillion naira electronic payment transactions in the second quarter of 2020. The Bureau said online transfer accounted for the bulk of the volume of transactions in the period under review. It added that the sector recorded over 1 billion volume of online transfer transactions, which amounted to 72.25 trillion naira in the second quarter of this year. The NBS said the bank allocated 18.82 trillion naira credit to the private sector in the period under review. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group has expressed concerns over the foreign exchange transactions and disbursement of intervention loans by the Central Bank of Nigeria, as well as rising poverty and unemployment in the country. The NESA said the high level of insecurity across the country had contributed massively to the current food crisis, unemployment, poverty, increasing community clashes, rising bloodshed, and the absence of peace and tranquility in the land. The private sector-led think tank, in a statement entitled Matters of Urgent Attention, noted that since the inception of the current administration, agriculture and the need to ensure zero hunger for Nigerians had received considerable attention. It, however, said, despite the budgetary allocations and huge sums of money disbursed by the CBN through the Anchor Borrowers Program, a huge gap remained in meeting the food requirement, resulting in increased hunger among the Nigerian populace. Henceforth, any passenger flying into Nigeria without carrying a negative COVID-19 chain reaction test will be subjected to a fine of $3,500. This one was contained in a circular issued to all foreign airlines operating in Nigeria since the reopening of the country's airspace to international flights on September 5, 2020. According to the circular signed by the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, the presentation of a negative COVID-19 PCR test valid within 96 hours of boarding remains mandatory for all passengers traveling to Nigeria, also stating that all airlines must ensure compliance with the requirement. The NCAA acknowledged the difficulties several intending passengers to the country are having with the use of online platforms for uploading information, making payment, and printing QR codes required for travel to Nigeria. The Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate has paid the sum of 96 billion naira to pensioners under the old defined benefit pension schemes between July 2019 and August 2020. Also, 244,643 pensioners received 77 billion naira as monthly pensions as of July 2020, with 842 pensioners paid arrears and gratuities of over 19 billion naira. The Executive Secretary of PTAD, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, who disclosed this in Abuja during the press conference, added that over 670 million naira was paid to 418 next of kins of deceased pensioners. According to her, between July 2019 and August 2020, PTAD paid a total of 96 billion naira across all the operational departments. The sum of over 77 billion naira was paid as monthly pensions payment to 244,643 pensioners as of July 2020. 87,842 pensioners were paid arrears and gratuities of over 19 billion naira. The sum of over 670 million naira was paid to 418 next of kins of deceased pensioners. United Nations warns of humanitarian crisis in Sudan. This will be on the World Today shortly. Welcome back on the World Today. Sudan has imposed a 3-month state of emergency and declared the country a natural disaster area as record floods killed 100 people and inundated more than 100,000 houses.
Boris Johnson has urged members of parliament to support a bill which modifies the Brexit deal he signed with the EU in January. The Prime Minister said the Internal Markets Bill would ensure the integrity of the UK internal market and hand power to Scotland and Wales. He also claimed it will protect the Northern Ireland peace process. Critics said the move will damage the UK's international standing after a minister admitted the plan to break international law. The European Commission has called for an extraordinary meeting to discuss its content, and the Scottish government has not ruled out legal action to prevent it becoming law. It comes as talks on securing a post-Brexit trade deal with the EU continue in London.
Well, on the contrary, Mr. Speaker, this UK internal market bill is about protecting jobs, protecting growth, ensuring the fluidity and safety of our UK internal market and prosperity throughout the United Kingdom. And it should be welcomed, I believe, in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, Wales, and throughout the whole.
Fire has destroyed Greece's largest migrant camp, the overcrowded Moria facility on the island of Lesbos. About 25 firefighters with 10 engines battled the flames as migrants were evacuated. Some suffered injuries from smoke exposure. It is unclear how the fires began, with some blaming the migrants and others blaming Greek locals. Police cordoned off roads leading from the camp to prevent fleeing migrants entering nearby towns. Thousands are now without accommodation, and authorities are struggling to find them shelter. The government has declared a 4-day state of emergency. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas has called the blaze a humanitarian disaster and tweeted about the distribution of refugees among those willing to accept admission into the EU. Moria is home to nearly 13,000 people, more than 4 times the number it can officially hold. The United Nations has warned that the humanitarian situation in Sudan is worsening, with further heavy rain and flooding expected in the coming days. The government has already declared a state of emergency, and the UN says the supplies needed to respond to the crisis are running out. Weeks of torrential downpours have led to flooding in all but one of Sudan's 18 states. More than 500,000 people have already been affected, and thousands have been displaced. Torrential rains are also causing floods across the Sahel region of Africa. And that's it on the World Today.
That's the World Today. The Spot News segment will complete our lineup.
Welcome to the sports segment of the news, and let's start with tennis. Serena Williams kept alive her hopes of a record-equaling 24th Grand Slam singles title with a 4-6, 6-3, 6-2 win over Svetlana Pironkova in the US Open quarterfinals. The American six-time champion, 38, struggled early on with a variety of shots from the unranked player who was in her first tournament in 3 years. The Bulgarian, 32, broke in the fifth game en route to taking the third set. Pironkova tired as Williams took the second and broke twice in the third. The veteran will now play former world number 1 Victoria Azarenka or Belgian 16th seed Elise Mertens. African football chiefs will decide on Thursday whether to go ahead with the CAF Champions League and CAF Confederation Cup matches in Morocco during September amid a coronavirus pack there. The country is scheduled to host the first legs of the Champions League semi-finals and the Confederation Cup final for mini tournament this month. Confederation of African Football officials are concerned after a rise in COVID-19 cases meant only one Moroccan league match has been played during the first 2 weeks of September. At least 12 of the 16 Botola Pro 1 clubs reported positive cases, triggering an order that players must stay in hotels or sports centers rather than returning home after each match. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has confirmed plans for fans to return to sports stadiums from October 1 are to be reviewed. The announcement came during the Prime Minister's press briefing on Wednesday, at which he confirmed gatherings of more than 6 people will be legal from Monday, a rule which does not apply to competitive sports teams. A pilot scheme to have spectators for horse racing at Doncaster this week was cancelled by the local council on Wednesday, with plans to have 6,000 fans in attendance for Saturday's meeting shelved. A limited number of spectators were allowed to see the World Snooker Championships in August and the test events which remain in place, which include the West Ham vs Arsenal Women's Super League fixture on September 12th. Manchester United have made progress in their efforts to sign England winger Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. The club have broken an impasse by agreeing a deal with over wages and agents' fee around any move that could materialize for their main target. But there is still no guarantee of an agreement between the clubs before transfer deadline day on 5th October. Sources close to Dortmund are adamant the club will not alter their demand for a fee of excess of £100 million. It had been suggested they needed to sell the 20-year-old and would soften their approach as deadline day neared. United have indicated they would be willing to pursue alternative targets if Dortmund did reduce their demands. And still with transfer news, Aston Villa have completed the signing of striker Oli Watkins from Brentford for a club record fee of £28 million, which could rise to £33 million with add-ons. Watkins was the Championship's joint top scorer last season with 26 goals. The 24-year-old is Villa's record signing of the transfer window following the £60 million arrival of defender Martin Cash from Nottingham Forest. Watkins will be reunited with Smith, who signed the forward from Exeter when he was Brentford manager. The fee for him is a record for a Championship player. Victor Moses has made a cash donation to the Winger Athletic Supporters Campaign in a bid to help save the club. Moses spent 2 years at Winger Athletic before switching over to Chelsea in 2012. Caroline Milinox, chairperson of the Winger Athletic Supporters Club, said Moses wanted to remain anonymous, but the club decided to give him the recognition he deserved. His contribution has now taken Winger past £650,000 and to within £100,000 of their next target of £750,000. And now to Formula One. Mercedes have shouldered responsibility for the pit lane penalty that cost Lewis Hamilton victory at last weekend's dramatic Italian GP. Hamilton dropped to back of the field from the lead after collecting a 10-second stop and go penalty, which he pitted when the service road was closed to cars. He finished only 7th, with Pierre Gasly instead taking an against-the-odds maiden F1 win. Although F1 six-time champion blamed himself for not seeing the electronic marker board signaling that the pit lane was no longer open. His team said could not have been expected to see them at the time. Andrew Chauvelin, Mercedes trackside engineering director, said the mistake was on the team after they only realized the pit lane had